why you shouldn't mix your politics with your investing decisions, and really why I don't, and why some other pretty good investors don't as well. So Warren Buffett has been, I shouldn't say well known, but known for saying things like just pretty much straight up, don't mix your politics with your investment decisions, that he personally doesn't base any sort of investing decisions on politics, don't analyze stocks with political interests at hand. When people have asked him both ways, whether it be conservative politics or liberal politics, how he likes to invest, if he doesn't want to invest in guns because of politics, if he doesn't want to invest in cigarettes or things like that. I mean, it's been dozens and dozens of things both ways too, not just liberal or not just conservative. And pretty much any way or any decision under both presidents, at least that I've noticed under Barack Obama and Donald Trump, he has said don't invest or don't base your investments off of politics at all. And a couple of reasons why I think he says that, along with some reasons why he explained that he says that, and some reasons that I don't do it as well. So to start off, when looking at stocks, I do understand to an extent if you don't want to invest in certain companies because morally you don't agree with some of those things that those companies do. I'm not talking about necessarily politics, but like the gun thing, Warren Buffett sort of said you're insane. Not insane, but he said he doesn't care about that. He would still invest in gun stocks regardless of that. And I could understand pretty decently if you were against that. And same with other stocks, like perhaps cigarette companies, tobacco companies. If you were like, hey, I don't really want to invest in them because they do try sometimes to advertise to kids, and I don't think smoking cigarettes is actually a very good thing. So I think that is somewhat understandable. But what his main argument, I think, it wasn't necessarily about the moral aspect of it. It was more about the political aspect, because I think he was taking all those in a political lens, like conservative versus liberal policies under the president. And another thing that he made very, very clear was that he doesn't really care about the current president. He doesn't think the presidency is actually affecting his investments at all. And a couple of reasons for this. One, him, along with myself, are more long-term investors. Presidents usually only serve, 4 years. Of course, they could leave office quicker than that for a handful of reasons, but impeachment, death, things like that. But typically, at most 8, so usually somewhere around 4 or more, and who knows, they could leave early due to impeachment, death, whatever. Typically, those policies that they're running and ruling on don't usually last very long, and if they are lasting very long, there's probably going to be an opposite party candidate that's coming into office in the next upcoming years who might reverse those policies, just totally get rid of them, like you see with Trump right now, getting rid of a lot of Obama administration policies, replacing them with more Republican conservative-headed ones. And I'm sure the next liberal president will probably reverse some of Trump's policies as well. It's kind of a back-and-forth type of thing. But Buffett's main reason for not caring about the president is because regardless of who our president is, we are likely going to have a very, very strong economy in the long run. Because even if we have a weak 4 years or weak even 8 years, let's say, there's a good chance that we're going to rebound. And even if there's a major recession, depression, whatever it might be, another stock market crash, we're likely going to rebound in the long term. If you look at how the S&P, Dow Jones, all the indices have performed over the past, 20, 30, 40, and when you're just looking at the stock market as a whole, past 100 years or so, you'll see that the U.S. economy has generally done pretty well. Even though we've had some ups and downs, we have still been able to achieve greatness, and our economy still does good. So presidency is more of a short-term thing. One thing I will note, though, that the presidency or their policies isn't a short-term thing is if you're investing in very, very small companies. So, for example, let's just say a president increases taxes like crazy, or completely bans companies from kind of like what Trump's trying to do, not ban companies, but let's say they do ban companies from building factories in China or across the seas or something like that. That could significantly hurt relatively small companies. But big companies that do that probably aren't going to get hit very hard, if at all, because they can just move them to other places, whether it be the U.S., but might not be the U.S. They could pretty easily move them to other countries. If you follow the U.S. economy at all, that's pretty much what they've been doing for the past 40, 50 years or so. Just look a little bit U.S. history or so and see where companies place their factories. It's usually the cheap places across the seas. Used to be the U.S., not the U.S. anymore. We go all over the world, guys. So these short-term Chinese tariffs probably aren't going to be affecting the economy or even the stock market in the long term. A couple other reasons why you shouldn't do it is because I think it really clouds your judgment when you're trying to bring in a company that's quite political or a company that is very clearly leaned like left or right, I think your own political beliefs can just cloud your judgment in the ability to analyze whether or not a stock's actually a decent value buy or something like that. I mean, for example, the Starbucks stocks recently. Starbucks has always been a very clearly liberal leaning company, and they've done extremely well. And just because they're liberal or conservative, I don't think defines how a company does financially, because both ends have worked. If you look at companies like Apple, Google, Microsoft, very, very liberal ran companies, they've been amazing. If you look at other companies like IBM, I'm trying to just think of conservative companies off the top of my head. For some reason, I can think of more liberal ones right now, but IBM, suit and tie, very conservatively led. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, there's two off the top of my head right there. Both pretty conservatively led companies, and they've done very well also. So it doesn't seem like that actually matters too much. But anyways, like I was saying, I think if you let how their leadership runs the company, like their political opinions, influence how you're analyzing a stock, that might not be a great idea, because if you look at the research behind it and you look at, I mean, there's numerous studies showing that each way works. I don't necessarily personally think one way works better than the other. It's just up to the company. But a lot of people really get their judgment clouded through their political biases, which has really no place in investing. I mean, I never talk about my political beliefs or opinions on this channel, simply because this is a channel about investing, finance, and the stock market, not about, I don't know, political science or, which way I lean or who I voted for or something like that. That's just no place in the investing world, and it really doesn't have an impact or relate to investing at all in any sort of way, unless of course you're talking about morals, like you don't morally want to invest in a company that does certain things that also might be related to your political beliefs. Then I think that's a little bit understandable. But to be honest, at the end of the day, I definitely don't let my political beliefs tie into my investing. And even if you do, let's say, don't want to invest in a specific company because they don't agree with your political line of thought, at the same time, you could just simply invest in another company. There's plenty of good companies out there. But you shouldn't ever let it impact or destroy your level of analysis just because you don't agree politically with that company. But anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I'll be posting a live stream later tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Once again, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I know a lot of people are on the West Coast and Europe watching me as well, and even in the middle of the US sort of, and they aren't the same exact time zone. So I'll be like, hey, this live stream didn't play at 9 o'clock, and I'll be like, sorry, it was 9 o'clock Eastern. I started it right at 9 Eastern, so 9 o'clock Eastern. I'm from New York. I do use Eastern time. But other than that, guys, that's it for this video, and I'll also be posting a shortened versus video on my Instagram TV channel, so if you're interested, definitely check that out. But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video.